Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and in this series we're going to be going over the sun and the signs, okay? The sun and the signs, and in this episode we're going to be talking about Gemini. So having your sun in Gemini, okay? And before we get into that, just want to remind you guys, if you want to book a reading with me, you certainly can. I do birth natal chart readings as well as tarot. All you got to do is email me at samastroreadings@gmail.com. That's samastroreadings@gmail.com, and we can sure go forward with that, okay? So getting back into Sun and Gemini, okay? Sun and Gemini. And the first thing is, if your sun's in Gemini, you were born between May 21st and June 21st, okay? So if you were born between those times, your sun is in Gemini, okay? Happy early birthday. But yes, and being that your birthday is around this season, okay, this is the end of spring transitioning into summer, okay? So this is a time where we're really well accustomed to the warmth, okay? It's nothing new at this point. And I believe that during this season, there's a lot of energy, okay? A lot of energy, we're really accustomed to the warmth. The warmth brings us outside. We're just out here. So there's a lot of energy at this point. The transitioning into the summer, it's getting hot. People are going to be really outside. And this energy reminds me of Sun and Gemini, because Sun and Gemini is very extroverted energy. Now, if your sun's in Gemini, you're not extroverted, it's because there's probably other things going on in your chart. You know, you're rising, you could have aspects to your sun, so it all depends what a house it's in. But generally, Sun and Gemini is a very extroverted energy, because the sun is all about how we express ourselves, okay? Express our energy. And Gemini is all about communication, okay? So they're constantly communicating and speaking and connecting, and this makes them very social, very communicative, okay? Always talking to people and putting themselves out here. Much different energy than like Sun and Taurus, where it's a more chill vibe and they're kind of just, you know, chilling to themselves. Sun Gemini wants to get out there, wants to communicate, connect with other people, express themselves through communication. So there's lots of talking, lots of getting out there, and it's perfect during this season of spring going into summer, because like I said, there's lots of energy, okay? So this is very extroverted energy, and very social, and in the spring going into summer, it's a very social time. We're all planning on vacationing, having fun, and taking advantage of the warmth. So very active, very extroverted energy here with Sun and Gemini, all right? And also with that extroverted energy comes a very entertaining style and form of communication, okay? Sun and Geminis to me are very entertaining communicators, okay? These are people who could really tell a story, really entertain you, really make you laugh, or really communicate in a way that grabs your attention. You know, their goal is to entertain you, you know, because sun is how we creatively express ourselves. You know, the sun represents our light. And if it's in Gemini, our light is through communication. So we really entertain people and grab people's attention. Sun and Geminis really entertain people and grabs people's attention through communicating, okay? So very entertaining communicators, really good storytellers, very excited when they communicate, so people love to talk to them. They're very fun to talk to. They got all this energy, but be careful, because they're very entertaining communicators and they like to entertain, they could exaggerate and fabricate their stories and even lie, flat out lie, just to make you laugh or entertain you, or just to make what they're saying sound more than what it is. So be careful with that, Sun and Geminis, you know, with, you know, over exaggerating your stories or lying, you know, to kind of just entertain people. But it's still very lighthearted, because at the end of the day, the point is about positive energy through communication. And Sun and Geminis definitely have a lot of that. So yeah, what they're saying could be an exaggeration, may not always be true, but definitely entertaining, and they're definitely very entertaining communicators. Also, with Sun and Gemini, these people generally are very intelligent, okay? Gemini is the sign of intelligence in terms of using your mind, okay? Geminis are good at retaining information, picking up skills, okay, using their minds to pick up and remember information, and also being very well at communicating information as well too. So this makes them very smart, like, students. You know, I always say Gemini is the A+ student, because again, they know how to retain information, they know how to pick up information really quick, they know how to pick up skills quick, so they could really learn things very easily and regurgitate it, communicate it very well. So it's a very smart, intelligent sign. Sun in Gemini people could have been very smart in school, you know, been the person who always raising their hands in class, always has the right answers, learns, you know, the new math formula quickest or very quickly. Like, they're very smart, very intelligent people, you know. You could have been like Sun and Gemini. You guys could have been very smart in school. Okay, could have shined through school, because Sun kind of represents your youth in a way. You know, how you express yourself freely, and of course we always express ourselves, but our childhood, our youth, can represent how we freely express ourselves before we reach adulthood, and you know, have to be more disciplined in our expression. But because of that Sun energy, it could associate with your childhood. And in Gemini, you know, basically what I'm saying is, like, in school, you could have been a smart kid, a smart kid in school. And also with Sun and Gemini, you know, Sun deals with, you know, of course, how we express ourselves and what we want to show out to the world. So Sun and Geminis, they like to show off their intelligence. You know, they love to show people what they know, their knowledge, communicate their knowledge, let everyone know how much stuff they know. So showing off their intelligence is a thing for some Sun and Gemini. I mean, these people love to show off their knowledge, show what they know, communicate it in a very smart way. So there definitely could be show-offs when it comes to letting people know how smart they are and all the things that they know. You know, Gemini is the sign of information, so these people know a lot and they want to show it off. You know, so definitely a part of Gemini. Sun and Gemini, their ego is in information, their intelligence, their mind, what they know. So they get a boost out of showcasing their intelligence, you know, just straight up showcasing their intelligence, you know, communicating it. You know, they get a boost out of that. It's their ego. So these people are definitely about the mind, and with that being said, they're definitely smart. Also, public speaking, okay? Public speaking is really good for Sun and Gemini, okay? Public speaking, because again, like I said, Sun deals with how we express ourselves, so it's very open, and Gemini being with communication. Public speaking is really good for Sun and Gemini, okay? Because they like to showcase their intelligence, their communication skills. Communicating in front of an audience will really boost a Sun and Gemini's ego. It'll feel like this is their place, you know, to be, you know, expressing their knowledge and communicating it in a social space so that everyone can see, and being like that center of attention. So definitely think about going into public speaking. You know, if your Sun's in Gemini, you can have a knack for that. You know, you might be surprised of how much energy and how much public speaking can boost your ego and your confidence, you know, and your spirit in general. So definitely getting a lot of attention through communication is the way to go. These people can be really good hosts, TV hosts, a news anchor, or just public speaking in general. You know, definitely great fields to go into when your Sun's in Gemini. Also, with your Sun being a Gemini, Gemini being communication, and Sun being your creative expression, Sun and Gemini is really good at creatively expressing their communication skills. So going into fields such as like rapping and poetry, even acting, you know, and even being a comedian, those kind of creative forms of communication is definitely a good place for Sun and Gemini, okay? Because again, Gemini deals with communication and Sun deals with how we creatively express this. So those skills that deal with those creative ways of communicating, definitely good for Gemini. Like, I know a lot of really good rappers are Geminis, okay? Because again, rapping deals with communication. You know, you're writing words and you're rhyming, having a rhyming scheme. There's a lot of metaphors and creative ways of communicating and using words and all of that. All of that's ruled by Gemini. And creatively expressing it is Sun. So rapping is definitely even a good place. Poetry, slam poetry, those types of creative forms of communication are definitely good with Gemini. You could have a knack for it. I know Kanye West's son's in Gemini, and he's known for being a really good rapper, like a really good lyricist. Even Azealia Banks, you know, she's a really good rapper. Her son's in Gemini. So, you know, Sun, and I think there's a lot more, but Sun and Gemini can have a really good, knack for creative communication styles, okay? Even being an actor, because an actor has to read a lot of lines, memorize a lot of words. It's a lot of wordplay, a lot of retaining information. So again, it's another creative form of communication, okay? Because of the creative style of acting, okay? Memorizing lines and creatively expressing them, interpreting them. All of that is creative way of communicating. So definitely think about those fields, Sun and Gemini. You could have a talent for rapping. You could have a talent for acting. Okay, you could have a talent for poetry, you know, and performing it, you know, performance, communication, performing. You know, those fields could be something that you're good at. You never know. So definitely a thing to know. Like, these people are great performers and the communicative style. Also with Sun and Geminis can have a nervous kind of energy, okay? Our sun sign deals with our energy because it's our personality, it's how we're expressing ourselves. So it's the vibe that we put off. You know, a lot of people are seeing it's because it's the energy we're expressing and putting on the forefront. So when it's in Gemini, Gemini is the sign of the mind. And because there's so much going on in the mind, it's so quick, they could be jittery, okay? Because we're expressing this energy. So there could be a lot of nervous energy with Sun and Geminis. They could be very jittery, very fidgety, okay? Why? Because there's so much going on in their heads. They're thinking about so many things at the same time. They have a very quick mind. And because it's in Sun, it's really expressive, so it can come out in their vibe, in their behaviors. So lots of jittery, lots of going back and forth, lots of busy movements, fidgety. Like, they could really, Sun and Gemini can have a very nervous energy because of how much stuff is going on in their mind and how they're expressing and putting it out there. Now, you know, if your moon's in Gemini, that could be a different energy because it's more within. So it's more hidden, but because your sun's in Gemini, you're putting this Gemini energy out in the open. So, you know, that nervous energy is also going to be there too. Yes, you're really smart, but you can also have a lot of nervous energy because of how much stuff is going in your head and how many things are going in your mind and all the thoughts going back and forth. And, you know, Gemini is such a quick mind. So it's like a lot of energy, and it's coming out in your vibe or in your aura. So it could be very nervous energy, lots of jittery, fidgety movements and expressions. So definitely be mindful of that. Also, talking about behavior and your how you express yourself, Sun and Geminis can also be very dualistic. You know, Gemini rules like duality because it rules the mind, logic. And one of the main rules of logic in the mind is, you know, for an up, there's a down. For a left, there's a right. For an in, there's an out. It deals with opposites, okay? Because that's one of the main laws of logic is duality. You know, you can't have an up without a down. You can't have a black without a white. You can't go in without out. Okay, you know, you can't have freedom without restriction. So it's this dualistic energy, but it comes out in your behavior. So because this is your mentality, Gemini rules the mind, the mentality, and it deals with duality, which is the main source of logic. A lot of it can come out in their actions and their behaviors. So lots of like contradicting behaviors. You know, Gemini could be for something at 1 minute and then be totally about the next thing. And because Sun is so expressing, it's the energy we express, you can see a lot of this dualistic energy come out in their behaviors, in their actions. So You know, Sun Geminis can be hypocritical. At one day they could be for this, and then the next day they're for something else. And it's not because they're intentionally being hypocritical, but it's because of their minds and the way that it operates. They kind of perceive everything. They could see both sides of everything. You know, that's logic. Logic just understands both aspects of everything. And sometimes Geminis can have an issue with kind of like putting it together. So they could be all over the place, and it could come out in their behaviors of being very contradictory or being hypocritical or doing one thing and then doing the complete opposite. You know, their thoughts and their minds are just always comparing and contrasting and operating on duality. So it comes out in their behavior sometimes as being contradictory, being hypocritical, just being kind of all over the place. And certainly Geminis, Sun Geminis can really express that. And to me, you know, it really just means that they're complex people, but what they would have to do is, again, which is what Libra does, is balance the two sides. And Gemini is the first air sign, so doesn't really go into that. Libra, the next air sign, starts balancing ideas, but Gemini is more so understanding the information, and establishment has no discrimination, so the balance isn't there. So they could be very hypocritical and contradictory in their behaviors, and it comes out a lot. So it's their mentality. So do not be surprised if Geminis be doing things that you're like, wait, weren't you saying the other thing or doing the other thing the other day? Like, now you're changing. Yes, definitely a Gemini thing. Also with Gemini, Sun in Gemini, these people could be very busy bodies, okay? Lots of movement. Like I said, again, with the jittering and the fidgeting and the million things that are going in their mind and how quickly it's going, they could just be very busy bodies, okay? And it's gonna go, it's gonna reflect in their actions and how they move, because this is the Sun sign. It's how we express ourselves, it's how we behave, it's how we act. So Sun and Geminis could be very busy bodies, always going somewhere, doing this, doing that, running errands. Very busy people, even multitaskers, because of how fast and quick their minds are, you know, and because of it's in their Sun sign, it's gonna come out in their behaviors and how they act. So, you know, they're always busy people. These are people who always got something to do, always got something in their list. They're always everywhere, you know, doing this and that, talking to this and that, doing 3 things at the same time, cooking, speaking. And, you know, Geminis are so known for just being so busy. And when you have it in your Sun, again, it's going to really show it off in your behaviors. It's not something you can hide. So you're going to see lots of busy people. Sun and Geminis are very busy people. You know, they got to express themselves in that way. They got to take action on all the things that are going on in their heads. And because there's so much going on in their head and they're taking action on it with that Sun being in Gemini, they're busy. They're out here doing lots of stuff. They're always constantly moving. So definitely multitaskers, busy bodies, Sun and Gemini is 100%. Yeah. Also, when it comes to your Sun sign also deals with your sexuality, okay, in the way that you perform, in the way that you express, and how you have fun with it. And being that your Sun is in Gemini in this that we're speaking, a lot of your sexual attraction and what you like sexually and how you like to have it is through mental stimulation. So you can have a very mental approach to sex. You know, it could be a lot about not just the action of it, but also the ideas of it. So, you know, the ideas you can come up with. So the communicating sexual energy, you know, the things that you're saying, you know, the foreplaying, okay, the role playing, you know, being kind of creative, using your mind to stimulate sexual energy. So Sun in Gemini is not necessarily the most sensual energy, but being that Sun deals with sex anyway, Sun in Gemini has a very mental approach to sexual energy. So they definitely are stimulated sexually, mentally. So some form of communication sexually, using your minds, and that sort of way, that's kind of what's going to stimulate a Gemini. Okay, so definitely something very interesting to know with Sun and Gemini. Also, when it deals with our Sun sign, we're talking about our Sun sign, we're also talking about our masculine figures that we've looked up to and have had influences on us. So this could be definitely your father figure, just like the moon represents like your mother figure. But it doesn't necessarily have to be your father. You know, some people don't have fathers in their lives, so their mothers had played both the female and masculine male role. So your mother could be that, but your sun sign definitely represents some type of masculine patriarchal figure in your life, and the role model, the influence it played on you. So, you know, your father or masculine patriarchal figure could be your uncle, could be your mom, could be someone you watched on TV that you looked to, wherever it was, that masculine patriarchal figure influence on you could have been very Gemini, meaning lots of communicating. Could have been someone very friendly, communicates a lot, talks a lot, knows a lot of information, always telling you stuff, okay, knows a lot about knowledge, is a busybody, always up and down doing stuff, okay? Your father or whoever it is could have been very busy, always doing things, you know, always have tasks and errands, always communicating, always speaking, could have been very even friendly, you know, in that type of way. But also with all this energy, they could have been all over the place, you know, just your father figure is always here, there, out there, like just all over the place, you know, could have been a lot of busy energy going on, you know, but whatever it is, whoever it was, this masculine role model to you was the energy of Gemini, which is very mental. So you associate that, you know, with intelligence, with communication, with speaking, okay, with being busy, okay, and systems and formulas and using the mind. So this type of figure had influence on you, and it reflected what you think of masculinity and how you express yourself, okay? So, you know, our sun signs deals with not just our personality, but how other masculine figures and role models influence ours. And with your sun being in Gemini, the influence was very much about the mind and communication, okay? Yes, that is sun in Gemini, okay? I hope you guys enjoy that. Sun in Gemini is a very extroverted placement. This is a great placement for sun. Again, these people are very social, very great at communicating, very entertaining communicators. They're really fun to be around, okay? Very fun, lighthearted energy, and very smart, okay? Very smart and like to show it off. Again, like public speaking, like teaching, communication of any style. Like this is a very good position for them, and they're very smart and great at using their minds and showing it off to the world. So definitely a great placement, sun in Gemini. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, okay? That is sun in Gemini, and if you did, you could definitely certainly book a reading with me. Okay, I do birth natal chart readings as well as tarot. All you have to do is email me at samastroreadings@gmail.com. That's samastroreadings@gmail.com, and we could go forward with that. And I'll check you guys out on the next video. Thanks for watching.